Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today I am a comfy shirt boy because I have a very comfy shirt that is disintegrating and used to
right off of his body.
Yeah.
It's very hot.
It used to have some images on it that have just kind of faded away into nothing.
I was shocked. I didn't realize that this all red shirt at one point had something on it. What was on it?
It was Superman holding Lois Lane.
I remember that shirt.
And I was like, not again.
Yeah, she's limping his arms, and he's saying, "Oh, not again."
I've seen that shirt.
Yeah.
I remember that shirt, and it's an original format.
But even when it was brand new, you could barely see.
It was
the
just
image.
it was a distressed.
Yeah, it was a faded look. Well, anyway, my name is Michael. I am a chaser. No last name today. And I am also wearing my comfort shirt. I'm wearing my 30 Rock Sandwich Day shirt that says I can have it all on it. This is my feel-good shirt.
My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living in sunny Hollywood, and I am actually wearing one of my oldest beat-up shirts as well today. We seem to have a theme.
Nice.
My name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser, and I am wearing my uniform, my white T-shirt.
It's always the white T-shirt or a tank.
Sometimes I'll wear a tank.
Sometimes
I mean, I believe in comfort. And
Yeah.
If I'm gonna wear a big cumbersome shirt, it's gonna be a white undershirt.
But I mean, I think that is one of your more kind of worn in white T-shirts.
It is at the moment.
I've been trying to get Dan to like go shopping for clothes
For
since
10 years.
before the pandemic.
We have a show to do. It's been
Our show?
only 5 days. Yeah, that's right. No, someone else's show. What was that show that we were talking about? The awkward pause, or no, Dead Silence, right? Anyway, sorry, you weren't there for that, Dan.
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. We are going to do our show, even though it's only been 5 days since we've recorded the last episode. We've got to summon the Big Fat Gay Podcast juice. And
I
get
got
to
it.
You
I'm
got it?
juicy.
You juiced? I haven't finished my coffee yet, so we'll see.
Well, from the waist down, yeah.
I
mean,
just
you could do
spent
that.
a lot of the day yesterday juicing, actually.
Let's get to it.
Michael, just finish that last little. You can do that in one like.
Okay,
big
hold on.
Slurp.
Okay. This was sent in, so we're going to be saying this a lot today. This was sent in by a listener.
Yeah, we had a lot of that.
So thank you very much for sending stuff in. We love it. This is something that, I don't know, Trevor, maybe you would have seen it. It would never have come across my radar.
I had never heard of this show.
In So Dramatic, there is an article about a show in Australia, an Australian show called Hunted Australia. I don't totally get the show. It is maybe, I guess you have to survive the hunters and they get a bunch of people. It's sort of like a game show or a contestant show.
I think it's like Survivor, but people are after you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
It was a little confusing because like there are pictures of them in disguise, but they're talking about them having to run and jump over fences.
I think, yeah, you're allowed to use like many tactics to evade the hunters. So the point is that the one of the two winners of the show is a fat man who was facing a lot of fat shaming, anti-fat bias, as Dan likes to say. I think particularly in the finale episode, the hunters were saying things in the show like, well, he'll never be able to outrun us, or there's no way he's getting over these fences. And
I'm not even sure that was just the finale, but it was.
well, specifically what is referenced in the article.
It was this drum
Having
beat
not
of-
seen the show, I
Yeah,
couldn't.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was this drum beat of like, well, he's too fat to really do anything except lose. So
But the cool part is that the fans of the show went to Twitter en masse and called them out on it and said, I can't wait for him to win your show and prove you all wrong, you anti-fat sons of bitches, basically.
I wonder how much of that is just people love rooting for the underdog, or if
In
that is.
Australia?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's
I thought in
universal.
Australia they love tearing down the people who are trying to get ahead.
Who are successful when he's not successful, he's fat.
Yet.
Right.
I guess.
But also,
but my point though to finish that is, I wonder if it's rooting for the underdog, or if there really is this sort of shift, like, hey, don't make fun of fat people.
I also think just in reality shows, right? You don't like watching people actually shitting on other people. Like it pisses you off.
Yeah, you want to shit on the people.
Yeah, I get to say that stuff. You don't, you know.
There is a sense of that. I can't believe he cut you off. Wait, I'm about to cut someone off.
Yeah.
But it was very cool to see people subverting expectation and showing anti-fat haters what's what.
Yeah, it's nice to see, like, I don't know. Usually when there's a fat person on TV and people are very active on Twitter talking about them, it's not defending them.
Yeah. So elsewhere in the news, Dexter Mayfield is just knocking
His
out of the
star
park.
Yes.
is rising.
Oh, how
again.
wonderful. Yeah.
I knew him when.
Yeah. So fresh off his role as one of the judges on Dance With Me, he was interviewed by Out Magazine. I think it's part of their series on like modern dating.
Yes,
Dating prep,
prep.
2.0.
Yeah. So, and he has a number of things to say about like encountering racism, encountering sizeism.
Yeah,
And
so-
the advice of basically, you just got to live your best self.
Yeah, and the interview is printed out, but it's actually a video. It's a whole production, which is really like classy and nice. And there's so much like, I think to me the mark of a great like well-produced video like this is you get to see them in their element, and you get so many different spaces and shots of Dexter like doing his thing, modeling, doing a photo shoot, swimming while he's talking and while he's doing the interview. And so you get more than the kind of experience you would get just like reading an interview with somebody. You could actually see them like living their life while they're talking, and it's really, really cool to experience. And yeah, the main point is like, how do you deal with and encounter racism in dating? But then wider than that, like what do you want to take away from it? What advice do you have for people? And his advice was very potent, I think, because it's very applicable to like anybody, which is you got to look inward first. And like, if you can do that and you can sort of learn to accept yourself with all of your own flaws, it becomes that much easier to project that, which was really heartwarming.
One of my favorite things about the video was the like kind of, it's not even fishnetty, the like meshy, transparent pool outfit.
It's sort of like sheer.
Yeah, sheer black, a whole mood.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think it's the first time I've ever seen any large person wearing a see-through anything in Out or Advocate or any of those magazines.
Oh, I have to issue a retraction or a correction, by the way. So last time we talked about Dexter, which was just a few episodes ago, I mentioned that Here Media had sold Out to a different company who I was like, oh, maybe they're the ones who are being this progressive. No, they ran Out into the ground as well. And Out has been picked up by a different group, and they're the ones who are doing this kind of progressive content.
Lovely.
So they've sort of rebranded, redone the whole thing. So thank you to them.
Nice.
And
I gotta say, this article and the content is not what I was expecting from Out Magazine. So that makes a lot more sense because the version of Out I know is not the version that this is.
I would say a listener called me on that. So I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong.
Listener fest.
I know this episode. Why are we even here? You guys should be the ones doing the show.
I think they are.
I'm excited about, so Dating Prep 2.0 is this series with different individuals talking about dating. I'm excited for the kimchi one.
Kimchi
from RuPaul's Drag Race, which none of us watch.
None of us watch. I know. We're terrible gays.
We're bad gays.
You will probably, so people who don't follow Drag Race or drag queens might remember Kimchi from the whole kind of campaign, calling out people on Grindr for saying no fats, no femmes, no Asians, and being very vocal about saying yes fats, yes femmes, yes Asians.
Wow.
I'm excited to see that and check it out.
Yeah. And
check out.
Thank you to Dexter for being fabulous and amazing, continuing to exist in a way that is awesome. Well, I think it's time.
Oh yeah. I need that breeze. I need that cool. Oh yes. Feel it. Do you feel it, Michael?
Oh, I felt it. I can't hear, but I think I know what you're saying.
It's Fat Watch 2022. Wow, that was loud.
It was quite loud. My apologies.
On my headphones, it always sounds like the eagle's actually flying from my left to the right through
That
my
is
head.
intentional.
Yeah,
I did that on purpose.
I know. I feel like I'm a bit of an airhead, you know?
Yeah, if you don't listen to the podcast in stereo, you're really missing out because there is exactly one sound effect that actually makes use of that.
I thought that was just me because sometimes my head whistles when I walk.
So again, we have a listener sent this in, which
What? Sorry, Dan killed me with that. Continue.
a listener sent in this tip, which actually I feel like stupid for not. I saw this a while ago and I actually did this, but you can now on Instagram block diet ads.
Yeah, this was sent in by a listener, but Trevor went and found a better resource for
This
it.
is Marie Claire then, yes?
Yes. An article by Ali Head. Let's say Head. And it's just it's to the point. It's very specific instructions. It also has a trigger warning at the top for eating disorder and body image issues. But yeah, if you want to block those pesky / terrible Instagram ads, Noom is the one that I see, which is just
fucking
Noom.
Fucking Noom. Oh, I've moved on from Noom. I have a whole new ad campaign now aimed at me.
What is
that?
The one
I mean, let's go right past it, but it's basically the one where I think it's the diabetes medication that's migrated.
Oh, Wegovy?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is they're constant and ever present.
So you can go into settings, ads, and then you can click on basically all of the categories of different kinds of ads that you are allowing them to target towards you. And specifically the one that you can select to disable, along with, there's a lot of sensitive subjects that Instagram allows you to disable. Things about I think parenting is one of them. There's some others, but now you can specifically select body weight control as a topic that you don't want to see in your Instagram ads, and supposedly they will disable it.
Well, you can see it less. They're not promising that you're not going to get it.
Well, and I think that's maybe them just they can't actually guarantee it, because if they do guarantee it, somebody's going to try and sue them for it. So, but they do say it should work. And then I think if any company doesn't tag their own product under that tag, it might get through and you might see something that's weight loss related. But it should still help.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did this a while ago, because this first circulated, I don't know when, a while ago. I must think pre-Bigger Vegas.
It was last year.
And I definitely feel like I see less weight loss ads, but I feel like something shifted more recently where I'm seeing a lot of weight loss reels. I don't really know how to describe it. It's very macho, male weight loss, where it's rap music and it's a fat guy working out and then showing the extra skin but muscles.
Yeah.
And it's push harder.
Yeah.
And you can also do the whole thing where you select I don't want to see this topic.
Yeah, but it never works.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. The marketing nerd in me. I was raised in an advertising and marketing household. That was the way my dad made his living. So I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during the conversation of that, because weight loss ads has to be a large percentage of their marketing income.
Yeah.
It has to be. So,
but I think you sell it to the advertiser as we can get you a higher conversion
more
rate.
Targeted.
We can get you a higher conversion rate on eyeballs.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point.
So you won't be wasting your money spreading it out to people who hate you.
That is, theoretically, that is the big advantage with Facebook and Instagram now that they are owned by Facebook. I'm sorry, Meta.
I mean, clearly there's already some heavy targeting. When you said that, you can turn off parenting ads. I'm like, there are parenting ads?
They have a list of, some of the topics are really, really broad, like politics. And then some of them are cookie dough. I'm not kidding, because I went and did this. I went and scrolled through, and there, by the way, so here's a warning for people who want to try this.
I just want to know who is triggered by cookie dough. I want to know that.
No. So the ad preferences, we're talking about two things. So what Don was talking about, there are quote unquote sensitive topics that Instagram will allow you to block. And that's where parenting might be one of them. They had some other examples that she actually wrote in the article, which I'm forgetting the others. But then they added body weight control to those sensitive topics that you are allowed to block. And then there's a bunch of other categories where they just sort of let you know these are the things that we're advertising towards you. And I think I was scrolling through trying to find body weight control to disable it, like this article suggested. And I had to scroll so far down all of these stupid categories. They had repeats. They had the same thing 2 or 3 times. And my app crashed before I could get to body weight control. So if you are having a hard time with this, I don't know if there's a way to do it on a browser, if that might be more stable, but yeah, just be warned that there's a lot of shit in there that you have to kind of get through to find body weight control.
I think you can also if you want to see more cookie dough ads, I believe you can also say I want to see more ads like this.
I wonder if Facebook does this too, because I am so sick of Noom.
They do.
I just want Noom to go away.
Well, our main topic is also, it's inspired by a listener submission.
It's true.
So a listener sent in an article about this, or was this a listener or was it just you, Mike?
It was a listener
Okay.
wrote in about a Hallmark movie called Romance in Style, which is centered around the female lead being a plus size woman who falls in love with the hot, handsome guy, and the guy falls in love with her, and it's a Hallmark movie. But they made a point of centering the movie around body image and body positivity issues.
Well, actually, so much so that her job is she is a plus size clothing designer who is plus size, and he is the new owner of a fashion magazine. And they have this meeting of minds of like, oh, maybe you should put plus sizes in a fashion magazine. So that's sort of, it really centers the issue.
They don't skirt around it, or they're not coy about it at all. Skirt around, shut up. I didn't do that on purpose.
Cute.
I retract my statement.
Careful, you'll be pantsed.
There's no puns here. No puns allowed.
That was so cute, Michael.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so before we move on to our main subject, which was inspired by this article, so thank you to the listener who sent that in. The interview that we found in TV Insider with Benjamin Hollingsworth, who is the lead actor in this romantic comedy, is fucking phenomenal. I don't know if you guys
He's really great.
Like
I don't think I've heard of him before.
punches. I mean, I think this is maybe his bread and butter. I don't know much about his career, but he does look like the kind of guy you would expect to see in Hallmark romantic
absolutely.
comedy.
He is the handsome leading man that you would see in a Hallmark movie, that you'd see on a New York soap opera.
But safe and non-threatening, handsome man.
Absolutely.
Well, and the thing I love about this, because he goes to bat. He has like a speech that you could imagine like inspirational music playing behind it while he was talking.
In the interview, you mean?
In the interview, what he's talking about, the reason why he took the role, which was he was like, I just had a daughter like a year ago, and if I can contribute to a world where women can just exist in their own bodies without the kind of judgment that plus size women face, I want to contribute to that. And he goes on and on and on, and it is really cool because I think it's easy to see, like we did this with Matthew McConaughey, who was an A-lister, but he was in all of the romantic comedies, and you assume that he's an airhead, and you assume that he's talentless, and you assume people do it with the British guy also, Hugh
Jackman?
Grant?
Hugh Grant, right. And you have assumptions about the actors because of the roles they play, and especially for something like a Hallmark movie, I thought it was really, really cool to see somebody so vocal and so eloquent about the subject.
Yeah.
So this inspired...
Yeah, so then I did that thing you're not supposed to do. I started reading the comments.
Oh.
What was getting me is, not just the like, oh my God, you've got a fat person that you're not beating on. This is controversial, because you should be. There is some of that. But what I got interested in, and how I pitched this as a main topic for us, is what were the people who were standing up for fat people saying? And if you don't mind, I'd like to take like 30 seconds or less and just acquaint everyone with what I'm talking about.
Let's get in from the top down.
So, all right. So here's an initial one where a doctor, and we know they're a doctor because it's K. Sachs MD is the I don't know the identifier.
That makes it real.
It makes it real because they're an MD. But it sounds consistent with that. Arguably, Kay says, arguably one of the worst possible messages to send to young people, meaning the movie. Body positivity is a validation to lead an unhealthy lifestyle, leading to a myriad of illnesses and likely early death. There is no upside to this. Stars such as Chrissy Metz and Lizzo are deplorable role models. Okay, so that's sort of par for the course. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the response, which is, says Liz, do you realize that often obesity is due to mental health issues, such as depression, right? You realize that. Helping someone feel good about themselves will only make it more likely that they will be healthy in the long run. This actress, and then here's the other part, this actress is nowhere near the size of Chrissy Metz or Lizzo. And basically, like, no, that is not how you refute this.
Right.
Or here's another example where Linda, there's a lot of L's. Women with L's really read this stuff.
They're being very...
There's Linda, Lydia.
Well, there goes 3.5% of our audience.
So Linda says, I applaud this movie and its focus on body positivity, contrary to several of the men, women, and supposed doctors' negative comments about focusing on gluttony. They have no idea what they're talking about. And then Becky says, I don't disagree, but I feel that young people who find themselves in that situation are the product of poor parenting.
Oh, delightful.
So it's like,
Thanks, Becky.
Yeah, and then
Do you realize your name is Becky?
Becky, and then Lee, another L name, comes back and says, "It sends sends a false message to chubby teens." This movie does, rather than inducing them to get healthy in a balanced diet. Feeling uncomfortable in a plus size is disastrous for high school girls, often leading to social ostracism and promiscuity to feel attractive and accepted. And so basically, the idea is like, fat girls have all these unhealthy behaviors because of their plus size. So clearly, the harassment.
Did he also just call fat girls slutty?
I think, yeah.
Promiscuous.
Yeah.
And often promiscuity to feel attractive and accepted. A lot of teen girls watch Hallmark. This is a damaging fairy tale movie.
So
Anyway, so my
the
point
subject
was,
is-
so the subject is how you respond to comments like the doctor of like, this is
Massive
terrible.
quotes.
And because sometimes how we respond, like, how dare you make fun of fat people? That person isn't that fat.
Yeah.
You sort of missed the boat there.
Or it's
Yeah.
like the
Or like, how dare you blame fat people for being fat?
I mean,
some of
all
them are
you're
just crazy.
so the drug company whose name I refuse to learn,
Novo Nordisk.
Novo Nordisk, has the whole campaign, "It's bigger than me," where it's like fat people are human, so they're sick, so we should be nice to them, and then they can
Right.
buy our drugs.
We all agree that obesity is killing people, but do we have to blame them for it? It's like, well, but hold on.
It's so just like this weird, like, I know Dan, I was explaining this to Dan. Did anyone else see the Mary Jane defending Spider-Man meme where it was a screenshot from the Spider-Man movie, and it's like, so the format of the meme is like defending someone but doing it in a way that insults them.
Yeah.
Like gets it wrong. And like the best one I saw on Twitter was like, "Hey, he uses she, her pronouns."
Yeah. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well, actually.
Where it's just like, so like, wow, you're just,
So not getting it. Yeah.
So what do we do about it?
Yes.
That's the twist.
Well,
Like,
I thought, what do we do about it? Have we ever been in this situation?
And my horror is that I know I've done it. I don't remember doing it, but like for me, some people who know me might know that I'm mildly political. Why are you laughing?
I'm just eyeing my
Because it's so
soundboard
absurd.
and seeing.
And so like
There we go.
I am sure, I don't remember doing it, but I am sure at some point I have called Donald Trump fat, right? And it's not because I think fat's an insult. It's because I think that is something that would hurt his feelings if he heard it.
Yes. And he's reading every comment.
Exactly. And it, like thinking back, realizing that I've done that is wildly frustrating, but I am simply stating that and outing myself to say that I understand, right?
Yeah. And I have some, I mean, there wasn't even an article about this. I think there's been several articles about this where, the left is so good at not, trying not to step on people, but they have no problem saying like, "Oh, big Donald Trump, that big fat idiot. And he's so fat,
right.
and, he lives in Mar-a-Lardo," and all these ridiculous things. And I took issue with a friend who did this, and I was like, stop using body shaming as an insult to people. I don't care if you hate, like, it's not okay to body shame people like, "Oh, it's okay because I hate that person." No. And the thing I pointed out was, no, they're not going to hear it. They don't care. But everybody on your social media feed who does hear it now gets the message that being fat is an inferior thing to be because it just goes, because fat and stupid, fat and lazy. Nobody says like thin and stupid. Nobody says short and stupid.
And it's easy to sort of say like, well, me just saying it once or twice, like that doesn't mean anything. I'm not contributing, but it doesn't matter. It's still going to sink into sort of the background noise of all this. Nobody remembers any one individual comment.
No.
Yeah.
They just remember sort of the wave of stuff. And when you contribute to that wave, you're validating it as an insult, and you're hanging that insult is already hung on your belt.
Yes.
Like it is part of you. So great. Good job.
my response to the whole like Trump fat insult thing, which, we had 4 years of that, maybe a little longer, was like, there is someone who is just giving you so much because everything about them is terrible. Like there's just, and he's just like, was such a buffoon. And it's like, really? You choose that out of anything,
Any number of
things.
Yeah.
But I think this comes from a lot of people who are very conflicted about fatness, where they're not willing to say, you're not going to take the point of view of fat people are always healthy, because that wouldn't be accurate.
Yeah.
But you're trying to take the point of view of fatness and health are independent variables, and to try to de-link those. And you, like, if I were arguing, like Trevor's mother has this fantasy where I debate Bill Maher about, like, it is actually, if you try to debate the fat equals death paradigm with someone like this doctor, you're probably not going to get very far, because it's going to turn into this study versus that study. And what about this study? It's going to devolve into that very quickly, because it's sort of like arguing, yes, there are aliens. Just look at the tin foil on my head to prove it. You're not going to be believed. What I find is a far more effective vector of attack is to get underneath, okay, let's say it is unhealthy, but there's plenty of stuff that's unhealthy that you have no problem with, that you don't like. I was talking to Trevor about Riverdale. You know, Riverdale is a bunch of young people who go to a restaurant, eat soda pop, drink soda pop, eat hamburgers and milkshakes, and then go to the basement to have alcohol. And nobody is saying, I can't believe they're promoting this unhealthy behavior among teenagers. Nobody is concerned with the health
video
aspect.
game violence argument.
Well, but what I'm saying is it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that we see a hamburger and people write in cards and letters, I can't believe you're promoting cholesterol. It only happens with fat people, and that's why it's called anti-fat bias, and that's why it's a fat prejudice, because you're not applying it universally. It's not about health. It's never about health.
What's also interesting to me is that the only time it provokes anger is when fat people are portrayed as being happy or comfortable or excelling.
Well,
in some
because
way.
they should be properly miserable.
If a fat person is shown in a show as being miserable and suicidal and punishing themselves, you never see them coming out and saying, like, why are you portraying this unhealthy person?
Oh, I think you're talking about season 1 of This Is Us.
I'm not labeling anyone.
As Guy Branum famously said, I can't wait till Chrissy Metz loses weight and gets a character.
So if you were going to respond to this, so there's the, let's get at the underlying issue, which is that it's not about health.
Not about
right.
No.
So if I were to go into that comment thread and respond to, not to the doctor, but to the lady who's responding to the doctor. That's
the first response I had to one of the women was like, well, she's not really that big. It was like, oh, well, at what size is it okay to start bashing on them? Because that's what it says to me. It says that there is a threshold where you'd find that acceptable.
I think what you'll find, though, is the response. Like if I said to that woman, well, then clearly you think there is a size at which a woman is too big to be a leading woman.
She'll agree with you.
And she'll agree with you. She'll say, yeah, I don't want them to be gross. And, everybody has their own idea what that means.
Yeah.
But it's this thing we talk about, like, it's Hollywood fat as opposed to, American fat, as opposed to European fat. Fat is a localized event. It reminds me of like this happened with gay men of like, well, I'm gay, but I'm not one of those gays.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
One of those promiscuous gays, one of those, whatever the undesirable behavior is, the gays you see in the parades.
Gays.
Yeah. Whatever the kind of gay who comes out at work. I would never be one of those.
I wouldn't force it on people.
Yeah. And so we do this with any stigma. Again, it's not about health. It's about stigma. And so it's expected and natural that everything we're seeing in the fatosphere is what is in line with other stigmatized groups and behaviors.
I mean, in some ways, to me, it sounds like people that are, still on the journey, but they've only taken those first few baby steps towards acceptance, right? Like it's the gay thing that you were talking about, right? Like I'm a very socially acceptable gay.
Yeah.
Right. I am still within lines of societal norms. And it's only when you start stepping outside of that, each baby step away from societal norm gets you a little bit more hate.
You know what it makes me think of, Mr. Political, is it makes me think of the log cabin Republicans.
Oh yeah.
Where, they're a bunch of gay men, mostly men, some women too, inside the Republican Party. And they got thrown out of their own party.
They stayed with it.
And they stayed with it because they were the good gays.
Yep. Like, look, fellow Republicans, we may be gay, but we care more about taxes than our sexuality. Please like us.
That was literally it. And the Republican platform, as of 2016, has been no gays.
No gays. and they're still there. I don't understand it. Okay. Anyway,
Well, they've lost a lot of members, but I guess what I'm saying is that to me is very resonant with this woman who says, well, she's not that fat.
I want a cookie for not going on a big rant right now. I earned a cookie.
Don, don't promote cookie eating as a reward to our audience members.
That is a dangerous behavior, especially for girls who might not get dates because they're eating cookies.
No, they would go on too many dates because they're eating cookies.
That's the
They are
alternative.
cookie promiscuous.
They're
You cookie slut.
they're cookie
Oh
whores.
boy.
Title
Oh
of the
my
show.
God, I am a cookie slut.
Well, apparently you'll do anything for cookies.
I love a good cookie. Yeah. All right. Anyway,
And
moving on.
that's not a euphemism. He means cookies.
If you give a Don a cookie,
There better
So-
be chocolate. That's all I'm saying. I am pro nut, by the way.
What about,
we know.
What about, so moving aside from the comment section, what about confronting this in the chub chaser, gainer encourager community of like,
It's so there. It's so
of like
there.
chasers who are like, well,
Yep.
I like fat guys as long as they're healthy.
Yeah, I like fat guys as long as they're healthy. I like fat guys as long as they don't gross me out. Or my very favorite, you're getting off on his rolls that night, and then the next morning you're like, oh, are you going to eat that? Like chubs have told me of that behavior.
Yeah.
Where like, you really loved how fat I was last night, and now this morning you're like on me for having pancakes instead of oatmeal.
Well, and how many of those guys would exhibit the same behavior if they weren't also being so careful about what they ate and how they looked?
You mean the chaser?
The chaser, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's clearly what they're going through.
Yeah.
It's their own body dysmorphia and fat phobia. Absolutely. And that's
Which, by the way, harkens back to what Dexter says, which
Yes.
is examine your own shit.
Yeah.
Be at peace with yourself. And guess what? You won't spill it all over other people.
Well, you know who I'm worried about, though, and maybe this is a non-existent creature, and I can stop worrying, but I'm worrying about the chub who also has feelings of guilt and self-loathing around their diet or body. And they're like, oh, well, he's a good guy because clearly he's giving me shit because he's worried about me. And that's the kind of guy I want in my life. Clearly, he's not a chaser who's overcome by his desire. He realizes that my body is problematic too.
We had somebody write in about that. The first
Yeah.
Valentine's episode, somebody wrote that to us. And it was like, because it was the issue at the time was like, I don't want somebody to fetishize me, and he's just so attracted to my belly. It's like, well, but like, hold on a second. Like,
That's probably a lot of your body.
yeah. And also like, at what point is attraction fetishizing? It's your comfort level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
So
I'll also say though, I feel like this is more damaging when it comes from a chaser, because by that point, when I've gotten closer, to someone to that point, I have started to let down some of my guards. I have started to trust.
Yeah,
right?
because if you'd gone out with your thin friends, you would have had the oatmeal for breakfast. Maybe,
I mean, not me, but
No, but I mean, like, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
understand
saying.
what you're
But
saying.
that goes to your point about letting down your guard.
yeah, but I'm trusting you. You're in my inner circle. I am hearing you in a way I don't hear other people. And I'm hearing that you, as someone who values me partially, at least for my body, sees my body as still being somewhat unacceptable and needing to be controlled. And that's
Well, and it also is, to me, it's directly reflective of the chaser mentality of like, you are so not at home with this. You have not made your
Yeah.
peace with your desires.
yeah.
Because your desires are, mitigated by like, well, what, if he's healthy, if he's this, that, or the other thing, if he's a good fatty.
yeah.
Speaking to the food for 1 second, which I'm happy to talk about food. All that, no, you stop it. You stop it right now. I will shame you with sound effects.
I think I just made one. I'm soaking in it.
Anyway, so the experience of sharing food with your partner, which is something that I've had many, many different iterations of, it's extremely intimate, I would say. And like, it's casual in one sense because you're just eating together and you have to eat every day, right? And so if you have a partner, you're going to eat with them most of the time. But if you both have your own issues with food and maybe binge eating or just comfort food, and then somebody starts to feel guilty, and then that starts to fall out on the other person, and you both go from just experiencing a good time together, like, hey, let's eat and watch 30 Rock, to maybe the other person's like, oh, I feel terrible now. And, you kind of
Interesting.
bleed out onto each other's experiences. And if one person's doing really well with their body image and the other person isn't, you kind of take that on. And like that struggle back and forth has been a thing for me for basically my entire adult life. But I feel like I've come to a much better place with it now.
I think there's a lot to say here, and I'm curious, listeners, if you have any experience with confronting this, or maybe if you want some advice about how to do it, send it to our mailbag.
Yeah, bigfatgaypod@gmail.com, or you can write us through the website. We'll tell you that at the end of the show. Do we have a tip? We don't have a tip today.
No tips.
What about a bit?
We do have a bit.
Shock and surprise.
Yay! All right. So when people of the fat community use the word fat to attack other people, or when gay people use the word gay as a pejorative, we're hurting ourselves in our effort to hurt others. There are more than a few words or expressions that mean this or something close to it. So each of our questions today deals with a word or phrase that deal with this concept.
Okay.
Oh. So I'm going to give you some hints. Buzz in when you answer when you think I know what I'm talking about. Buzz. Okay. Number one. This one's actually kind of a tough one. We're leading with a hard one today.
Okay.
A type of wind named after an ancient general.
Oh.
A type of wind?
A type of win.
Okay.
Won a great battle against the Romans.
You mean Pyrrhic victory?
That is correct.
I didn't think that was the general. I thought that was the battle.
The name of the general was Pyrrhus.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, it is. So a Pyrrhic victory is a going off and winning a battle and losing so much in that battle that you lose the war.
Yeah.
Right. Question 2. It's an expression meaning to be destroyed by your own evil plans.
Oh, Buzz?
Yes.
Hoisted by your own petard?
Why, Michael? How well done! I thought that was going to be a hard one.
I knew that
Good
one
for
too.
you.
I knew that one too. And we can. Would you like to go into the definition of petard?
I have those were my later hints.
Go ahead.
It literally means to be lifted up by your own small bomb.
Yeah.
Right.
So I know the word petard from Age of Empires 2. And I know the phrase from Family Guy. Stewie says it. So there you go.
There you go.
That's how I knew.
Well,
Dan
this
is
is like
like,
a very
"What?"
short bit today. All right. Question number 3. An expression meaning to hurt yourself a lot to hurt someone else a little.
Oh.
Expression may have originated with a group of English nuns who were afraid of being raped by marauding Vikings.
Oh dear.
Warning, involves graphic description of self-mutilation.
Oh, I know part of it.
And 4, the final hint is as clear as the nose on your face.
Cutting your nose to spite your face, or cutting.
Cutting off.
Yes,
Yeah.
Trevor got it there. Cutting off your nose to spite your face.
It's a 3-way tie.
We got one each. All right. Question number 4. Our final question for the day. Our tiebreaker. This time, you got to buzz. If you say the answer and you don't buzz, you don't get the point.
Okay. Buzz.
All right.
Buzz.
Expression that involves accidentally throwing away something of great value. Bzzz. Dan.
Throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. That's
This is a very Dan.
It's a very Dan.
It's a very Dan. But hey, we all.
Yeah, no, but Dan does like a crossword puzzle every day. At least one.
gotcha.
If not
So,
like
which is
multiple.
all idioms and euphemisms.
I just
and-
thought it was interesting how many expressions we have in the English language that do, I mean, they're all variants on it, but they all deal with sort of the same thing.
Well, we have to catch up with the Germans and their psychological terms.
Yeah.
We have to do something.
What? Wait. Okay. So, was a baby ever thrown out with bathwater? Is there like a historical instance of that? Where
No, it's apparently descended from a German expression that crossed over to English in the late 1800s.
Well,
Take
dear
that,
listener,
take that,
have you
Benbridge
ever
scholars.
thrown out a baby with bathwater? We can set a historical precedent right now. Trevor, where can they let us know about their baby bathwater shenanigans?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPodcast. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. 5 stars there, 5 stars on iTunes, 5 stars everywhere.
Thank you to our new review, by the way, Post Bigger Vegas. We appreciate it.
Huzzah.
Support us on Patreon. We have stuff now.
There's things there.
See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listener, maybe you're a hunter and you're hunting. This is like the show we talked about that none of us have seen. And you see 4 individuals in big wigs and dresses and
Oh, no.
gloves, and they're, ooh, you boys. And it's us. So watch out.
You literally threw over popular spot.
I mean, the problem is I never know when he's going to stop vamping and toss for the watch out. So I'm waiting.
Maybe you should do a gesture.
Just cue me. And